Today, I'm going to explain a 2020 German fantasy and action movie called Freaks, You're One of Us. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with chaos at a school building. Little Wendy is crying in the closet, hearing people shouting indistinctly and siren wailing from afar. A woman, Dr. Stern, steps down from her car and firmly walks into the school. A big hole is seen on the wall, with blood traces and broken furniture all around. Dr. Stern finally finds Wendy, telling her that everything is going to be alright. Years later, Wendy wakes up next to her husband Lars, consuming her pills, then gets ready for the day. She reads a letter about some unpaid bills and plans to ask for her promotion at work. Lars also leaves for work while taking their son, Carl, to school. Wendy goes to her workplace, Chop Heaven Diner. Elmar, her co-worker, helps her with some of the tasks. She encounters Angela, her boss, to ask for her promotion, but apparently, her request is denied unless she shows more deserving work. She refills the beer and takes out the trash at night. At the garbage bin, she meets Marek, a homeless man, who begs for food. Marek seems to recognize Wendy and says, "You're one of us." Wendy is puzzled by the statement but ignores him. Later that night, when she heads home, Marek approaches her again, asking about how long she has been taking her pills. He suggests she stop taking the pills so that she will release her true self and her superpower. He then demonstrates his superpower by jumping off the bridge and getting hit by a truck. Wendy is more than shocked to see the scene, calls the emergency hotline, and immediately heads home. The next day, Wendy goes to her appointment with Dr. Stern, to which she doubled her medication doses. At the diner, Wendy meets Marek, who begs for food again. He explains that he is invincible and cannot be killed. He gives her a leaflet, instructing her to follow the mermaid before Angela furiously repels him away. Although still confused, Wendy tries to skip her medication and flushes it down the toilet. She stumbles during her work and drops a tray full of food substances. She gets angry and suddenly expresses it by hitting the tray, deforming it badly because of her super strength. She is shocked, then proceeds to hide the tray in the storage so Angela would not find out. While walking home at night, she faces drunk men who usually harass her, beating all of them up. The next day, Dr. Stern comes to her at the diner, reminding her that she missed her appointment yesterday, and also reminding the consequences of not taking her medication, which is to put her family and life in danger. On the other hand, Elmar is having lunch with his father and his father's girlfriend. His father is furious as he thinks Elmar is aimless in life and suggests he find something purposeful to do. Meanwhile, at the diner, Angela discovers the broken tray and confronts Wendy, but Wendy threatens her using her powers, successfully scaring Angela. After work, Wendy follows the brochure Marek gave her, which leads to an abandoned water park named Neptune World that has mermaid symbols. She discovers that Marek lives there and he has been following her all along, shown by photos of her and her family taken secretly. Marek finds her, again saying that they are humans with superpowers or special abilities and that they are not the only ones. The medications given by Dr. Stern are not psychotic drugs but drugs to suppress their powers. She has to help the others because they are also her family. Wendy denies it, saying she has a normal family already, and leaves. However, she keeps thinking about it and then proceeds to break into Dr. Stern's office. She finds documents of Stern's patients, including Elmar. She breaks into Elmar's house and suggests he stop taking his medication as well. Turns out Elmar is obsessed with comic superheroes, so Wendy explains that Elmar can be like that too. Wendy uses her strengths to help his son from bullies, lift heavy objects at work, and give a warning to an irresponsible car parked in front of the diner. Finally, she asks for her promotion, to which Angela fearfully agrees. Meanwhile, Elmar stops taking his medication, and turns out he can produce electricity. He claims to be Electro Man. He tells the story to Wendy, and they spend the night together. Along the way, Wendy breaks an ATM machine to take the cash. Elmar tells how his mother left him, to which Wendy empathizes because her parents left too because she had been a different kid. They dance at a bar, then notice a girl is being harassed by a group of men. Wendy is determined to stop it by inviting the men to come to the restroom, where Wendy beats them all up. Elmar also helps to electrocute a man who almost attacks Wendy. When coming home, Wendy gives the stolen cash to Lars, saying it is to keep their home to not be sold by the bank. The next day, Carl receives a new pair of shoes and also sees that their swimming pool is filled up as Wendy is now able to afford the water. Meanwhile, the men from the bar are interrogated in the police station. They claim to be beaten by a woman, to the police officer's disbelief. However, Elmar's father takes over the interrogation after knowing that information and lets Dr. Stern come in. She turns off the interrogation recording tape and demands more information about the superpowered girl who beat them. On the other hand, Wendy takes Elmar to Marek's dwelling. Marek explains that more people like them, labeled as freaks and psychos, are held in a psychiatric hospital, which is actually more like a prison for them. Marek himself was there some years ago. The three of them then plan to release those people. They drive to the hospital, then Wendy allures the guard, then ties him up, then Elmar turns off the facility's electricity. However, other guards almost catch up to them and they run outside. When they are trapped, Elmar electrocutes the guards, to Wendy and Marek's shock. They argue that they cannot use their powers to kill people, but Elmar believes that the world needs to see them as superpowered beings and fear them. At home, Wendy is confronted by Lars. He suspects she is having an affair, but Wendy brushes it off. Meanwhile, Elmar scares his father's girlfriend using his powers, causing her to leave. Wendy is meditating in the swimming pool when she is confronted by Carl, asking whether she and Lars are getting a divorce, to which she replies no. Elmar goes to Dr. Stern, claiming he heard voices by a homeless man in Neptune World abandoned water park. Turns out he plans for the authorities to catch Marek and put him again in that hospital. Then, he goes to Wendy's family's barbecue party using his Electroman costume, confesses her love for Wendy, imagining that they can run away from the world but stay together just like in the comics. Wendy kicks him out, then she continues arguing with Lars, which ends up in her throwing Lars off the table. She goes out of the house in shock. At night, Elmar is talking to his father, persuading his father to hug him, while Wendy watches from the garden. Suddenly, Elmar electrocutes his father, leaving him unconscious on the floor. He is surprised to see Wendy and also electrocutes her. Wendy wakes up in the psychiatric hospital next to Dr. Stern, all tied up. She screams at her for lying to her all this time, while drive. Stern argues that she is only trying to protect Wendy from herself. She flashbacks to the tragedy at school years ago, when she was just a little girl. Turns out she is angry at his principal for taking away her Walkman and manages to throw him and his table out of the room, causing a big hole in the wall. In the present, Wendy continues living her days at the hospital, taking medications that suppress her powers, and meeting Marek, but he shows no response to her. One day, Elmar comes to her, apologizing for his earlier actions, and gives her a Walkman, her favorite thing. However, he continues convincing her that they are the future of the world, the perfect kind of human being, and that they deserve to stay together. Wendy ignores all his words while trying to communicate with the hospital's officer, but to no avail. When Elmar leaves him, suddenly the lights go out and Wendy's door is open. She knows it is Elmar's doing and immediately rushes to leave the hospital, along with other patients. Dr. Stern and a team of guards almost catch up to her. She argues that she has to stop Elmar, but the guards are already preparing to tie her down. She and other patients fight back. Stern prepares her gun and almost shoots Wendy when Marek suddenly steps in between them, so the bullet goes through him. However, due to taking medications, Marek is not invincible anymore. Marek is finally able to die, meeting his family in heaven. Wendy quickly runs to her home, finding Elmar has trapped Lars and Carl by electric cables. He threatens Wendy again, but Wendy is not able to fight back because she has been taking medications that suppress her super strength. When she is knocked down, Lars throws rubber gloves at her so she can touch and fight him without being electrocuted. She releases her power and successfully throws Elmar out to her swimming pool. Elmar dies, fried by his own electricity. Wendy embraces her son and husband happily but realizes she cannot stay with her family as the authority will be looking for her. She leaves to join other freaks, now planning to free more freaks all over the world. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you did, subscribe if you're new. And at last, I'll say stay well, stay safe, thanks.